It's time for IP in the news. And who are we putting on the rack today?
Well, this is very interesting. It's a trademark infringement case.
My favorite.
Yeah. And Amazon has an algorithm that looks for copycats and trademark infringement and takes people off if they can find out. And this Chinese company managed to design around that.
You mean they don't have like 1,000 people in the background there just checking everything? They use
Well, I don't know,
algorithm.
maybe they do, but I kind of doubt it.
All right.
No, Jeff Bezos looks at every single one himself, right? No, so Cartier got ripped off by this company, and they used their logo on their jewelry products and were selling them as Cartier on Amazon, and Amazon couldn't catch it with their algorithm. They got really mad. So Amazon and Cartier teamed up to sue this Chinese company for patent infringement, among other things.
Right. And so
or not patent, trademark infringement, among other things.
Right.
Excuse me.
We need to be legally correct here. Yeah, what's really interesting about the case, though, is that Amazon usually doesn't get involved in disputes. Usually they just leave it to the brand holder to pursue the copycatters or alleged infringers on their own. Right. But Amazon, because their algorithm doesn't work, I guess they feel like they have to join in this case against the counterfeiters. And what's kind of interesting, especially if you're an attorney, a legal geek like me, is that most courts have held that the companies like Amazon or eBay are not liable for infringement. And so you can't sue Amazon because somebody is selling an infringing product on Amazon. They're not a party to the case. But if Amazon gets involved in this, I wonder if that rule will change with the courts, and maybe they would become, a party in an infringement suit.
Well, I know Amazon is pretty diligent about people's trademarks, so I hope they don't get
right. And I mean, Amazon is very open about their policy. They really, at least publicly, say they want to keep the infringers off. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. It's an interesting case, and just another piece of doing business with Amazon.
Well, and I think the important thing is it's a Chinese company, but it's because they're doing business in the US, right?
Right. So if you wanted to go after somebody in China, you'd have to have a trademark in China, right? So it's only, your trademark only protects you for what's happening in the United States and not overseas, unless you have an overseas trademark.
And I have to credit the author of this article was Abraham Jewett. And I can't remember what, I didn't put down what site I found it on. So thank you, Abraham.
And it's time for Richard's Roundtable. So we're going to go to our distinguished collection of guests, and we're going to ask them for their opinions and thoughts. So first up is Michelle Seiler Tucker. Welcome to the show, Michelle. What do you think about all this crazy Chinese infringing stuff?
Well, I think it's time that something dramatic is done, because this has been happening for decades. And I think it's good that Amazon's getting involved. And I think there should be a law established that these platforms can't sell counterfeits. You know, like I said, this has been going on for decades. So I think it's a good stance. I think it's good that Amazon's involved, and I think it's good.
Yeah, I mean, the earlier cases that said that they weren't responsible were when these businesses were first starting out, but they're really facilitating copycats, and that hurts American businesses, and I should say at least legitimate businesses, right?
Yeah, and it's not just, of course, it's not just Amazon. I mean, I get pop-up Facebook ads all the time with counterfeit products that are being sold on a variety of different avenues, a variety of different companies that are all counterfeit products, and they're everywhere. They're on Instagram, they're on Facebook, Amazon. So I do think that there should be a new law established, because let me tell you, proprietary is everything when you're selling a business. It is a number one value driver. So we really got to establish those laws, especially in the United States, to protect everyone's proprietary assets, because that is your business. I mean, really, without proprietary, your business is not worth that much. It is a number one value driver. Proprietary can take you from a 3 multiple to 5 to an 8 to a 10.
Right. I couldn't agree more, and it'd be interesting to expand on that point a little bit later in the show. So Andrew, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's interesting how this comes to the foreground when it's this ultra luxury, I guess Cartier, does Cartier owned by LVMH, or, whoever it is that's really compelling Amazon to actually start to sort of adjudicate this.
Right.
I think counterfeits on Amazon seems to me like it's been a rampant problem for quite some time, that a lot of that's kind of been buried. People shop at Target and Walmart. They expect that the products they buy and the labels on those products are in fact manufactured by those companies. And for some reason, Amazon just hasn't been held to this test. I mean, I've purchased things that were clearly counterfeits from Amazon in the past. I remember buying Philips Sonicare toothbrush heads, which like random products that you couldn't count on. They didn't quite work right. And so they know about this. This has been allowed. They can stand behind that. They're simply a platform, and I'm sure in the legal jargon, when you sign up for your Prime account or what have you, I'm sure that somehow they're legally covered. But unless governments really step in and compel them to do whatever they can to prevent these bad actors, they're going to continue to do whatever they need to do to be profitable.
Right. And they've become so sophisticated that even, Amazon's sophisticated algorithms can't detect them. And that's why Amazon is having to get involved in that. And it does rob legitimate businesses of their brand or their proprietary, their proprietary stuff. So,
well, and if you do get confused and you get, like you said, a toothbrush head that doesn't work and you think it came from Sonicare, then that really hurts their brand, right?
And I'd like to know how much Amazon knows and doesn't know. Yes, there's quite a bit of sophistication, especially coming out of China when it comes to counterfeits and technology. Frankly, probably a lot of it's even state sponsored. But Amazon also, I'm sure, it's turned a blind eye quite a few times to keep the commerce flowing. And so, the consumer doesn't necessarily understand that buying something on Amazon and being a Prime member and getting all their shopping needs done is not the same as making a purchase, say, at a Walmart or a Target.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really good point. I'm glad we're having this discussion because I guess for a long time, you really did get the sense that we were tolerating this, and we were letting Amazon off the hook and letting, consumers kind of decide what they really wanted, whether they wanted the brand or the off brand or whatever. But when it implicates legally registered copyrights and trademarks and patents, people who have taken the steps to protect their brand and their ideas, I do think that Amazon should be held accountable for that, because Amazon's just making money from
it looks like
the
they're
counterfeits.
it looks like they're stepping it up, though. I mean, and they are doing no trademarks. So thank you. We should probably move on to Conrad. Right?
Yeah, why don't we move on to Conrad?
Yeah, thanks everybody. This really great points across the board. I think Amazon, I think kind of going back a little bit, was the pioneer to bring kind of that larger department store online, and kind of with the moves that the department stores have made, Amazon almost had carte blanche to just take on every product and not really worry about, as we've been discussing, the quality of the brand, and almost giving the consumer the option to buy a Chanel brand if it wasn't the quality. But I think what's great, and particularly in America, is the competition hopefully is what is going to hold them accountable at the end of the day. And while we'd like to hope that leaders will recognize kind of their end consumer having a poor experience, I think Walmart coming out with their own platform, as well as Target and a couple other providers, and then having retail kind of, I think there's a second resurgence in retail and in department stores. Mm-hmm. Consumers having the options to now, Amazon's 2-day delivery is very convenient, but if they have a couple poor experiences, I think they will look at these other platforms, Walmart and Target also having formidable funding behind them and offering a very powerful platform. So ideally, that's going to drive Amazon to make some changes. And Hangobi, as a young brand, we're just recently selling on Amazon, and they do have kind of a trademark registry that they put you through, and they take some time to review your brand, ensure you're authentic. I'm not sure how that works if, they probably didn't say they were Chanel when they registered their product, but some steps on the IP side of things. And then I know that they're taking reviews very seriously. So when it comes to people that purchase the product and review it, they're, I'm not sure the depth of their algorithms. And ideally, I think they're pouring a lot of funding in this category, but tracking almost like bot-like reviews or anything that isn't a genuine customer. And so if any of us bought that Chanel brand and noticed that it was not what it was supposed to be, you get an authentic review, you get a 1 star. And I think that hopefully is another driving item to keep these brands accountable. So I think that's kind of, the competition side of things, as well as their authentication from the consumer side, is probably the best way to catch a lot of this, improper branding and kind of lesser international product. I think, Richard and Elizabeth, I'd be curious to hear your perspective on, what practical steps can be taken, both from a legal sense. Are they, do they just come back with a different product, right? If they get blocked with this one, what can be taken from a legal sense? And then, to what extent should Amazon be kind of banning per se, or putting some businesses on probation? Wondering just kind of what the combination is on the corporate and the legal side of things.
Well, I mean, as attorneys, we can do all sorts of things, but lots of times the value of the object, the number of infringements, the difficulty of finding infringers overseas, it really makes it expensive for retailers who are operating on small margins. It makes it expensive to get legal professionals involved. And so Amazon does have dispute resolution procedures, both for trademarks and for intellectual property. There's an infringement practice that is really relatively inexpensive compared to going through a court proceeding for, say, a patent dispute. But at the end of the day, I do think that the best overall solution would be for Amazon to start assuming some responsibility for making sure that their retailer, the people who are selling on their website, are legitimate businesses. And but I mean, there are lots of Amazon has tried to be a good player. They've tried to make sure that intellectual property rights are protected. As I mentioned, we can send cease and desist letters, lawsuits. We can help clients with some of these internal procedures that Amazon has. Some resolutions have been quicker than others, but it's a difficult problem, and I think it would be better if Amazon took some responsibility for this. So hopefully, like you said, with the competition would drive them to that.
Right. So Kenya, been waiting for you to weigh in.
Yeah, no, I kind of share similar thoughts with everyone who shared so far. I'm just curious, if I'm a brick and mortar, right, I would be held accountable by Cartier if I was selling some sort of like knockoff version of what their product is. So I wonder if Amazon is getting involved because Cartier is, applying pressure internally, like in terms of like, maybe it's some sort of breach of contract, because I don't know, I don't sell anything on Amazon. So I don't know what the terms are in terms of like what I'm guaranteed as a vendor there. So is there some sort of like guarantee that, Amazon is to have a better vetting process when it comes to trademarks, and like what is guaranteed to me as a vendor? So I wonder if that's been breached, which is why they're kind of getting overly involved in this. And, as a vendor, like, can I hold Amazon accountable and, really kind of hold them to the fire legally in this case?
Well, I think one of the big things with this too is that they actually had the actual Cartier trademark stamped into the products that they were selling. So like if you go buy a handbag on the corner in New York, it looks like a Coach handbag, but it's not like the actual Coach logo on there. So I think just the brazenness and how far they took it was part of the problem too. And also that they evaded Amazon's counterfeit detection tools. I think that was a good one.
Well, you think about eBay and you think about like the Poshmarks of the world, like they would not, this like wouldn't be tolerated at all. So I'm just curious, is like, why is there's this level of standard with other platforms where you sell things and not with Amazon?
Well, it was a
Good
business
question.
choice.
Good question.
I mean, it was a business decision. I think they felt like they could manage the problem and they wanted the extra revenue from the knockoffs. I mean, I can't say that for sure if anybody from Amazon is listening.
Allegedly.
But you know, I'm just speculating. I don't really have, but I mean, it's been around for a long time, and I know Amazon has tried to deal with it, but it continues, right? And
So-
they grew at such a rapid rate. You know, maybe there wasn't a good way to do that.
Right. We've talked about trademark infringement a few times on this show, and it really is, the trademark system is a powerful tool for stopping other people from destroying your brand. And I think that this just goes to show, like, you can use the trademark system and then it gets publicized and then people find out about it. Right. So,
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well,
So-
anyway, very interesting discussion. I guess the takeaway from this is get all the IP that you can, because you never know when you're going to have to do battle with the counterfeiter or Amazon, and maybe this case will signify some sort of turn for Amazon, and maybe they will start taking some responsibility. Who knows?